I just had to do a video on this story. Takeaway is going to be all about what do you do if your investors start to get political or you're pitching an investor that starts to get political. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, here is a picture of actor Simu Liu. All right. He was the guy in Shang-Chi. Remember Shang-Chi, that Marvel movie? Very entertaining. He was on the Canadian equivalent of Shark Tank called Dragon's Den. I totally appreciate him trying to support the Canadian economy. And it's a lot of fun to watch these types of brouhahas break out because there was this French-Canadian couple, I believe they're a couple, and they were pitching this line of bubble tea alternatives or ready-to-drink bubble tea called boba in a bottle, and they were talking about how we're going to disrupt bubble tea. And English was a little bit of a challenge there, but I could see what they're trying to do, and they were just kind of going after it. And they're saying we have created a drink that's better than bubble tea, or they were making claims and they were saying, oh, you know what, people drink bubble tea, don't know what goes in bubble tea, and now we've got healthier ingredients and all that stuff. And they have massive distribution. They're sold in big box stores. And of course, Simu Liu had to throw a wrench in everything. And here's what happens. He says, I think this is cultural appropriation. You're not showing where any of this is coming from. And of course, he's going to be sensitive to that, or aware of that at least. And he has every right to be, because you know what? You're entitled to your own opinions and your own values. And he says, therefore, I'm out. And the other investors started to get cold feet and they said, I'm out. And he exposed a potential weakness, a potential liability in this business model, their branding, their go-to-market strategy. And that's always going to happen. Sometimes you're just going to have customers point some stuff out in your product and you're going to realize, oops, wait a second, we didn't really think about that. And that's just a natural part of doing business. But what do you do as a founder if you got investors doing that? And I find it actually kind of comical, the reactions on both political sides of the aisle to this story. And I want to talk about this and give you advice on how you deal with it, because I've dealt with this in the past and you're probably going to deal with it more in the future, because there is such a category as the activist investor, or the value-based investor, or the investor that cares a lot about the values and what the brand represents, just like customers care. Before we continue, my name is Ed Kang. I'm a 7-time funded founder with 2 X's. Fancy way of saying I failed a bunch of times, and I like to say that and share it because I've learned more from my failures than I have my successes, and I like to use that to your benefit. I do these types of videos in this channel to help founders avoid some of the catastrophic mistakes that I've made, especially if you're an early stage founder and you're raising pre-seed or seed funding. I want to help you. It's not that you're not going to make mistakes, but let's make your life a little bit easier. I'm also the Chief Strategy Officer for Startups.com. We have 1,000 founders right now active. I've advised hundreds of founders myself. We have thousands more in our alumni. We're around. If you're part of Startups.com community, thank you so much for your support. Thanks for joining me here. If you're not part of Startups.com, go check it out. There's a lot of free information there. You might find it very interesting and help you in this particular point of your journey. And while you're here, as always, do the YouTube thing, like, comment, subscribe. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd especially love to hear whether you want more commentary or content with commentary like this. There's always going to be a lesson, a business point to help all of you founders, but it's kind of fun to talk about trending topics and include them in these videos. Back to Simu Liu. First of all, he can invest in whatever he wants. He earned his money the hard way, or some would argue, but it's hard being an actor. He did it. He's got money. But here's what you need to notice. If you watch the episode, his little title card said he was the general partner of a fund. And general partner means you are the top boss. You probably started the fund, put your money in, and guess what? He's the partner of his own fund. So he went out and said, I want to become an investor. Therefore, he has every right to invest in anything he wants. And you need to understand that all investors have every right to invest in whatever they want. It is not up to you. You can have opinion all day long, but at the end of the day, they're the one writing the checks. And if you can't respect their agency, their sovereignty, the fact that they are their own self-contained human being making their own decisions, you are going to have a difficult time working with all other types of investors. This is my warning. I see a lot of founders get salty with specific types of investors, and they attack this type of investor depending on what side of the political aisle they're on. It's not going to help you. Don't do it, because guess what? You may hit investors who are slanted one way or the other way, and you want to learn how to navigate all of that versus niche yourself down. Some founders want to do that. They want to niche, and they only want right-wing conservative investors, or they only want liberal investors. But I tell you right now, you're eliminating half of your market. And I have not seen any of these startups go to eventual unicorn status by playing that game. Sure, it might be a way to start, but by playing that game and appealing and catering or pandering to these types of investors, you are not going to get anywhere. So that is the attitude that you want to have. Now, let's say you come across a political investor, you want to ask them questions and you want to understand why. And the first opportunity is to win them over. Ideally, Simu Liu would be working, collaborating, because here's what he missed and he wasn't looking at, because clearly he was triggered, and investors get triggered. Unfortunately, he did it on TV, and then now he's got the whole court of public opinion weighing in on his decisions. Some are saying, yeah, no, all this stuff, I understand. But people get triggered. Customers and investors do it all the time, and they reveal some of the liabilities in your startup. But ideally, Simu Liu would say, I'm willing to invest if you're willing to show me how we can make this culturally more relevant, if we can actually pay homage or we can give kudos to the cultures that have made this possible. I appreciate your innovation, and maybe do some things that help other people understand where this comes from. He was in what I call corrective complex. He was really busy trying to correct the founders before he made the investment, and he was kind of weaponizing his money to try and prove a point. And let me tell you, investors do that all the time. They use their money and the potential to write a check to correct you, to make a power play. It happens all over the place. And the people who are trashing Simu Liu for virtue signaling and using cultural appropriation in the wrong way and being a baby about it as an investor, like I said, leave him alone. He's allowed to make that decision. At the same time, there are other people who've done the exact same thing and nobody says anything about them. There are activist investors out there that say, we need to be more environmentally friendly, or we need to do this and we need to do that. And they put pressure. Nobody talks about them the same way. And I'm just going to call out the elephant in the room. There are old white guys that want to be part of the club, and they're allowed to be part of the club, and they've got their own biases. And yes, some of them are racist, some of them are sexist. I've experienced this myself. While at the same time, people like me, who look like me, I look like Simu Liu, well, not as good looking, and I'm not a martial arts actor, but I have my own biases as well. Everybody does, and that's my point. You as the founder, you have to recognize that everybody has that, and they may be looking at you and your startup through that lens of bias. You can't attack it, to complain about it all day long goes in a victim mentality. Work through it. How do you do that? Get the investor to collaborate with you. As the founders, I would have shot back and I would have said, hey, if we were able to make this more appropriate, we were able to involve the ethnic demographic, we're able to correct our mistakes, we've already got the traction, we've proven in the marketplace that this is a viable product and it's selling, we got big box retailers, in other words, we have traction, how about we talk about it, and we'd love to have a chance to go and address these things. Unfortunately, they were like deer caught in the headlights, and that's Simu Liu's problem. Investors need to understand your process is your product. If you want access to deal flow, because here's what he did. I'm not going to go to Simu Liu for different types of investment, because why would I want that type of investor on my board? Why would I want that investor on my cap table? Someone who gets triggered and makes a public display of what's going on. Let's say he invested in a company and I made a mistake. He invested in my company. Is he going to be on TV the next time and get asked the question and he's going to go off? I don't know. That's a liability I'm not willing to do. So if Simu Liu wants to be a serious investor, he needs to be a little more like Ashton Kutcher, all right? Ashton Kutcher was a famous dude, and he made a lot of money, and he's invested in some serious startups, and he went out and learned from some of the best investors, and he hung out with investors that understood the mechanics of investing. And whether you agree with Ashton Kutcher's politics or not, I have no idea what they are, whether you agree with his acting choices or not, or what he's done, the fact is, he's got access to great deal flow. Ashton Kutcher gets into the best rooms. If you're that founder, you want to get into the best rooms by working with the investor and saying, I never considered that. I'd love to learn from you. Will you spend time with me to figure this out? That's what you want to do. Now, let's say you hit an investor and they say no. You want to believe the no, but not necessarily the why. But you want to look at all the reasons. So, accept Simu Liu, all these people wringing their hands and ranting and raving how Simu Liu is a big fat meanie. Give it a rest. Leave him alone. He's allowed to do whatever he wants with his money. That's what makes this whole thing super great. It's all based on a meritocracy. But if you have that situation, you believe the no, accept the no, and then you do not accept the why. You go through the why and you say, all right, what's really going on here, because we've got data that other people love our drink, love our product, and you've got people, okay, it's not quite working out and we're competing with each other. Is this just someone trying to defend or someone trying to make up something so that they have a particular agenda? It might be. I'm not saying this is in Simuliu's case, but you need to analyze the why and figure out what your response is. In this case, I might go all the way after an encounter Simuliu, and I might start going out and saying, I am now the bubble tea killer. I'm going to destroy the bubble tea market with a better version of bubble tea, and I'm going to make sure the market turns heads and realizes that the traditional way of doing things is not going to work, or this new innovative alternative is just as good as the traditional way, and I'm going to make a big stink about it, and I'm going to turn this like a judo flip, turn it around on me. But guess what the founders did? They went and apologized. And I understand what they did. And I don't think you should apologize. I think you should say, all right, we have learned. We're going to take that feedback and we're going to learn from it and we're going to try and improve. But don't pander. Don't apologize. Never apologize, but learn. Be open. Admit your mistakes, but never apologize. There's a big difference. Saying that you're learning and then saying you're sorry and I feel bad because you feel bad, that's not going to help you. Never do that with that type of investor. Stand your ground and say, great, your points seem valid. I'd love to learn more. Let me work with you on that. And then analyze the why they said no and make your strategy and see if you can turn it around. That's the best way to do things. All in all, you can prevent this by researching your investors and making sure that they partially align politically with your values. And if you see them have a track record of activism, personally, I would stay away from them unless you want to limit yourself to that demographic and you think they're a good fit for you for your type of product, and your product does have an activist bent to it. Like I said, not my cup of tea, and I would stay away from those investors. But if that works for you, great, more power to you. Just as the investor is allowed to invest in whatever they want, you as a founder, you're allowed to take money from wherever you want. I see this happen in cannabis. I see this happen in other industries where investors say, we don't want to invest in you because you're involved in something like OnlyFans, or you're involved in something like cannabis or a deregulated industry that eventually becomes regulated. Well, if it works out, all the spoils go to you. You have first mover advantage. That's your prerogative. That's a beautiful thing about startups. Everybody gets to do what they want, and based on the meritocracy of the market, that's how we're going to make those decisions. There you have it. Hopefully it was helpful. Not the type of content that I normally do, but if you're interested in more of this stuff, leave me a comment. I'd love to know your thoughts. I'm going to leave it to you. What do you think about Simuliu? What do you think about all that happened? Try to keep it nice and try to understand that we're all in this together and we need each other. We need investors. We need founders to make things happen, but we don't all have to play in the same sandbox. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you in the next video.